Hey guys, my name's Soulwriter. You also know me as Jenna O'Malley on Facebook right now. I'm working on finishing up my first book for you guys and getting it out there. It's the Arsinoe Forest Alliance, Book One, Bound by Fate and Blood. But a lot of people who have read the book so far have some odd questions about it because it blends a lot of different types of fantasy and doesn't exactly follow normal conventions for writing a book. So, wanted to definitely start off on the right foot today and talk to you guys about character creation methods, not just for writing, but from the place where I got a lot of my inspiration for writing, gaming. Not just video gaming, but tabletop too, because, well, I'm a nerd, if you haven't noticed. Many people have come to befriend me as Lady Nerd in recent years of my life, even. So, speaking of one of those friends, we've got from Emerald Company Gaming, my bros on the iNets right now. Good old Baka himself. What you doing, bro?
I'm figuring out why the hell I'm here, but you said odd questions, so you obviously asked for an odd partner, so here I am. Yes, I am Yu.Baka, master of the Uncanny Universe, Knights, the former VG Knights, and current member of the Emerald Company Gaming. Wait, Emerald. Damn it, I always get that confused.
Yeah,
Emerald
you're
Company.
not the
Yeah,
only one.
Emerald Gaming Company. I don't know. But yeah, I'm here to, I guess, provide a alternate perception. What am I doing here? Can you please explain? I just stumbled in here.
Well, one of us definitely has more character creation experience from the side of being a player and, well, from writing. Someone else, you, not being formal with the last name or anything if you're going by Japanese constructs,
I
but
saw what you did there.
um for you, you're a DM, a GM. You make characters in your sleep, it seems like when we talk.
Joke all you want.
Joke? I was being
Yeah,
serious.
yeah. I was about to say, joke all you want.
Joke all you want. Okay. So, we kind of have a couple questions today here, just of different ideas from going from point A to point B. Is it really, really similar to create relatable characters for both gaming and writing? So, one of the first questions we have here is people and relatable characters require multiple facets to provide interest for players and readers. They're not going to stick around, right? What facets of characters design do you start off with first? Some really good examples would be, for me, it's partially in the name. Um, for example, Neftiri, the lead character for my first book one, or my first book, she is named after an Egyptian goddess. So therefore, I had a decision to make. Is she going to be a carbon copy of her namesake, a little bit of her namesake conflicted with an actual person, or 180 from the namesake? I chose to go toward the middle. For you, though, as a DM, GM, what's more important to pull from?
Uh, I want to say that's kind of a similar vein to creating a story character. When I create a NPC or a I guess of foil of some sorts for my
Hmm.
players, because the players, they make the playable characters and I make the NPCs and everything else in the world. I like to start with the concept, of course. Like I want, like, him to be him or her to be a certain class, a certain race, and then I build from there. But I usually start with, why is that person here? What's their story? And there's many tools I draw from, whether it's a random generated story from the archive of Naths or donjon.com. Just plenty of good tools to use, or just to explore what kind of abilities this person should have. uh Roll randomly for gender. Like sometimes I might get a funny race I didn't think of. Like I might think of like this
Right.
elven ranger, whatever, the typical brooding elven ranger. And then I go through the story generation, I get like an air genocide or a sliff, and I'm like, actually that'd be cool to have a flying, like, magic ranger of an air elemental just
Right.
raining arrows down on the party. That might be fun. Why not? Silly stuff like that. So I start with, long story short, concept, story, and then I try to add spells, abilities, gear, whatsoever,
Whatever
based
makes
on that. Yeah,
sense. Gotcha.
whatever I can kind of justify attached to like where they've been in life and why they're here.
And a little bit as far as item assignment goes happens therefore to a couple of my characters. I don't reveal much, won't reveal much now because the book's not out yet, but there's a couple of items that are mentioned that you think should be there that aren't. They go missing on you basically as a reader. But later thing we talked about question wise was possibly assigning rewards, but I guess we can pull that up here to the front. Before you've even met the characters that your players make, do you go into the game knowing specific high-end quest rewards? For example, um, is it all about a sword? Is it all about breaking a curse on this ring? Is that an influence for you or no?
For character rewards.
For building your part of the world as a DM, how much do pre-planning character reward? How much does pre-planning those character rewards matter?
Well, I think planning rewards is exhausting, honestly. And
Oh, thank
there's
goodness someone agrees.
at the same time, a lot of the like treasure, quote unquote, I generate is random. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
like other than like NPC gear that they take down, they're like, well, we murdered this hoe, might as well steal their crap. You know, the stereotypical murder hobo mentality.
Right.
Um, at the same time, I also try to craft rewards based on what my players have been doing. I
Mm-hmm.
just finished like a book for my monster campaign, and the party's been making fun of the dark elf noble woman who's been getting nothing but critical hits. And
I think you told me this.
yes, and every single time, I swear to Zod, she gets a bleed effect on her crit. So I just gave her a serrated magic weighted spear, just like the one she has, but now it has a built-in bleed effect in it.
Oh no.
So maybe she could stop with the crits, but she won't. We call her the Kritzkrieg.
I I wonder why.
So I have a couple different methods of generating rewards from like a patron, or it's based on the circumstance. Otherwise,
Mm-hmm.
it's just random crap you find while just doing your bullshit. Honestly, when it comes to at least with Pathfinder and Dungeons and Dragons, a lot of that's generated. Other rewards, like some systems, it gets really interesting.
Right.
Like my favorite system, Dogs of the Vineyard.
Oh,
But
just sounds horrible.
it isn't. It's a really cool system, and it just, as a storyteller, you're giving up control of where the story goes to the players. And what's really interesting about it is that honestly, if you kick ass throughout the whole game, you don't progress.
Oh.
You only progress as a character, and you only get rewards when you screw up, and you get dice. Excuse me, when you screw up, that's called fallout.
Oh
And
no.
yeah, now when you do, like, say you get fallout from talking, like I think the worst I've ever done to someone during a non-combat encounter is I gave them a crisis of faith. So some of
Ooh.
their like abilities, yeah, like got reduced to D4s. So it wasn't as important to them to use those abilities, but some of the fallout from, say, like a combat encounter or like a very deadly combat or physical, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that could lead to certain debilitating problems. But one of the things you can get from fallout, if you roll a 1 in any of the dice, you can get like an item, you can get a free ability score, you can get
So kind of like how
traits.
you have those random cards in the Sorry game that actually help you. There's not many of them, but when they do help, they hit.
Right. And I think that's interesting because no other system I know of rewards you for failing. It is all like,
True.
unless you succeed, you don't get anything. And I don't think that's accurate to real life.
No.
Whereas, you learn the most from your failures as opposed to successes.
And I have to wholeheartedly agree there. In book 1, we have a main male character, Christian, who is a complete fall from grace kind of deal. So he kind of has to rigmarole through that large experience of a chain of failures all at once. And I agree, you can't have one without the other, balance in all things.
Right.
You made a point earlier about reward systems that kind of reminded me about how writing goes sometimes for me. You said something about blockages, right?
Blockages, like um if we're talking about like Pathfinder, Dungeons and Dragons, basically you get treasure based off of challenge,
Mhm.
which you have to roll manually. But
Yep.
there's so many tools out there, you don't have to anymore. It's not nearly as much a hassle. But the game is basically set, assuming as you level up, you get X treasure to increase your abilities, and it's beholden to that.
Right. And
And yeah,
that's kind of where, for me as a writer, I use gaming to help me get out of writer's block. Um, One of my favorite authors often describes writer's block as her trying to inject too much of herself into the world, and the characters basically just shut up. For me, if that happens at a battle or at a crucial point in the plot, I'm not afraid to dig out those dice and let if I were to level this character up, what would they get? Kind of comes into play. And it's interesting to see that there is a gaming system that accounts for that failure. Because you're right, most of them are just, let me feed your serotonin levels.
yeah, they're all a bunch of Skinner box modules.
A little bit,
Like
yeah.
I honestly, of all the systems I know of, even the obscure ones, I can't think of one where you get something for failing. I think the only other
Mm-mm.
thing I've seen was like it's a board game called Cosmic Encounters, where there's one race called the Warrior. Like every time they fight, they
Mhm.
get like an experience point token if they win, but if they lose, they get two, and then each token they get +1 to how
Oh.
much damage they do when they go to war. So there's that too. But in that game, fighting people is only like half of the game.
Wow, so there's more to it than just the
So
battle
much
rig
more.
system.
Like, look, if you just go out there and you just try to fight everyone,
Mhm.
you're probably not going to win. Like it,
It's
like I did it.
true.
I did it as the warrior because that's what I was good at. But holy crap, was I nowhere near the lead?
Right, right,
Not
right.
even close.
Hence why I'm giving up tanking in 14 for a while. Anyway,
I mean, I can DPS, but anyway.
hey, I traditionally do DPS, so that's also part of my issue. But we've been talking a lot about characters and kind of skirting around world building. Now, when
Yeah.
we originally had the conversation to plan this, something we talked about, something that you and I admired in common, I was kind of blown
Yes.
away. Neil Gaiman, you like his methods,
I
apparently.
do love me some Neil Gaiman. I love him so much.
Well, talk to
Like,
that for us a little bit then.
talk to that. All right. So you wanted to start us off with, or you want me to start off world building because I love Neil Gaiman so much?
Sure.
Sure.
Well,
All
I
right.
admire his methods too. I
All
mean, come
right.
on.
So I guess the question is world building. How do you generate the world for the characters to occupy? Well, again, I love Neil Gaiman, and what he does, he takes something that everyone or knows or most people know extremely well, and then he builds on top of it with all the fantastic bullshit that explains things you never even thought of.
Right.
And that's kind of my method, especially now that I've read American Gods, and I just
Yes. Good
loved
read.
how he just filled every single aspect of American life with supernatural things we just don't notice because we're too busy doing our 9 to 5
Yes,
or
exactly.
whatever. We just can't be bothered with it. And that's kind of what I was doing, and I just kind of steered way into that off ramp. I just got off that freeway, went
Right.
right into Neil Gaiman's method where, okay, it's the real world. There's a thing underneath. It's very similar to what I was doing before with the campaign I had in high school, Parallel
Mhm.
Prophecies, based off D20 Modern. Uh,
Yes.
it was called like Urban Arc arcana, where there was the veil that hid the supernatural from most people. They couldn't experience it. They would explain it away. Like if a wizard cast a fireball somewhere in the streets of the Bronx, probably someone would say, "Oh, it was like a propane tank exploded," or
Right.
it was a gas leak, or
Right.
whatever. And yeah, and there was Shadowkind. That was what the monsters were called. Were just mysteriously just getting dumped into the real world, and no one knew why. And that was basically what I based my Parallel Prophecies world on. It was already a pre-established campaign. I had my own spin to it.
Right.
I was building another world, but I based that off all these other systems that were like coming together. And I won't get into it too much because I haven't used the world of Lodar Eads, honestly. And it's a big spoiler if I say it here.
Spoilers.
Oh no.
Oh my. I mean, you crave context, just not spoilers, right?
Right. I hate spoilers. I'll get them out of here. I don't like them on. I hate spoilers so much. I hate them on cars. That's how much I hate spoilers.
Ooh. Okay, that says something, bruh. That says something.
It's like, get them out. It's like, oh, but it makes the car go fast. I don't care.
I don't care.
Get it off my car. I don't like it.
So, from my perspective, then, Neil Gaiman's method kind of was the founding idea as to why I even brought this book from the ashes. Book one, I actually started writing back in 2003 as a dirty word fan fiction, and it didn't work. I wrote 2 chapters and couldn't make it work, and it, writing exercise, throw the notebook in the back of the closet like an old shoe kind of deal. And years
like
later,
King.
Huh?
Like Stephen King.
Yeah, like Stephen King, basically. I wish. I hard wish. His house is beautiful, though.
Apparently.
I've only been outside twice. Anyway.
Thanks.
My husband, Monk, as most of the ECGers will know him, found a copy of this, or I gave him a copy of this, and he read it when we first started dating, and he was like, "You really need to finish this, blah, blah, blah." And if I were to ever publish a book, he always came back to this plot. And I kind of sat down with it, and I'm like, okay, this is utter bull honky. I can literally only salvage like 2 characters that I actually made from this pile of do honky. So I kind of started looking through, and Neil's method came up. It's like, okay, what's a base concept for this whole thing? And I knew I wanted to write about not just vampires, but also other types of creatures.
Because of course you do.
Yeah, hey, I've only been playing Castlevania since I was like in elementary school. Come on. But I didn't want it to be just about vampires. There's other magical creatures out there. And I kind of went on a question of, wait a minute, what if these creatures really do exist? And not just vampires, but like werewolves, fairies, cat shifters, and werewolves. What if they really, truly do exist? What happened to them? And I kind of got looking through history, and the logical time frame was British conquest, the Silk Roads ending and conquest on sails starting. And I said, oh my God, they were enslaved and they were made extinct, just like conquest did with everybody else. It makes logical sense. So that was for me where it worked. But when you said you use that for gaming, I was like, oh, now wait a minute here. That's a can of worms, dude.
Yep. I did run my Parallel Prophecies game for a while. I'm actually on the verge of resurrecting it because apparently Will liked it, and
I heard that.
I would like to introduce it to a bunch of my new gaming friends that aren't as into drugs as much.
No.
But you did mention a bunch of monsters, which I think could bring us into our next talking point.
Sure.
Because this is totally like not planned or anything. Oh,
no.
We didn't talk about this beforehand. Like, don't mind the script behind the curtain.
Well, one of us was a theater minor. So
anyway, so what about abilities that we choose for our characters based on their actual name or reputation.
So for me, this is gonna be funny. I can give you a really good example. I used Neftiri's namesake earlier, but
Get on with it.
there's actually another logical explanation. For Arya, our fairy king, which your Toos knows or will know very well.
Damn Skippy.
His name translates in Hebrew to lion, and he's a freaking bard. He's supposed to be loud. He's supposed to be in your face, obnoxious, Mr. Charisma. And I'm like, what star sign does that remind me of? So, for abilities, because he also has the natural talent of sunshine, and I was like, oh, he's a Leo. So I pulled abilities from his name in many ways, and his reputation. He's the charmer. He's literally called or Sir Sunshine. But for you, have you ever had an ability make a character or break a character? We'll go that way.
Well, I have
what I was meaning.
I was about to say is like if we're gonna go with the whole like what's in a name, I'd never made like anything like Marvel where it's so on the nose, like everything about. But I have built a character backwards from a single ability, and I did that exactly one time. That would have been Tohaj. He was a human psychic warrior, though he had some ancestry with orc. I think. Yeah. So he was actually from an orc clan that got demolished by humans. And yeah, he was a psychic warrior, and I built it backwards from empathic transfer hostile, which immediately got errated, but it was fine. Like he was basically going around getting his ass kicked and then just transferring all of his wounds to the next fucker that was dumb enough to get in melee with him. Like he even got mad that the cleric tried to heal him, and he actually made a will save against the healing spell. And he's like, "Why'd you do that?" He turns to him and he says, "Pain is my weapon." Because, unfortunately for empathic transfer to work, I have to have damage.
Yes.
That was literally, it was to the point where I think there was a major villain was afraid of that ability. So they refused to attack me.
I wonder why.
Bear in mind, even without that spell, my character was like a 6'5", like human orc hybrid with natural psychic powers and a giant freaking axe. And I'm like, yeah, you go ahead and ignore me. See what happens.
Oh, no.
So I'm turned into this guy, and he summons like this like huge like fire centipedes. And, this guy was like some of the stupidest crap he did under his watch. But anyway, long story short, he was a beast. I literally made him behind one single ability, and I don't ever think I did that again. Where it just made a character just focused around one stupid spell.
It's a risk. It's a big risk, I'll admit that. And for me, when it comes to basing a character on just a single spell as opposed to an umbrella class, I should say.
Yeah.
It becomes a question of how long is this person going to need to exist?
How long is he going to live?
Yes, and therefore, and this kind of relates to another question we had, how do they enter and exit the world? It wasn't a question necessarily we said we could get to today, but for you don't have to just consider the fact that there are characters dying off if, heaven forbid something happens because, well, RNGesus.
No, personally, that decision is usually up to the players. Basically, I give them my NPCs. I give them, okay, here's their motivation. They want to stop the NPCs. How much they believe in these convictions. The first party I sent after my PCs, half of them were neutral, and then one of them was actually evil.
Oh.
and two of them were actually lawful good. So they fought to the death. They died first. No. One died first. Two of the characters were sisters, and the kobold convinced the chaotic evil one to turn on her sister. She's like, and her backstory was she was trying to find a way to murder her, so
Oh
she'd be the
no.
last of the family. Yeah, her backstory was she was a murderer. And she murdered her family. She found her half sister while adventuring, sticking close to her just to find out to kill her. Boom, plunged a knife right into her heart, right in front of him. And the party's like, can we keep her? Now, something happened to her as a Pathfinder elf that turned against her family, but I won't mention that here.
Yeah.
That is a spoiler for the second Darkness campaign setting, and I will not spoil that here.
Please
But yes,
don't.
if you
No
know what I'm talking
spoilers.
about, that happened to her.
Oh no.
And the other two people who are neutral in the party are like, so yeah, can we not die? And they're like, sure.
Yeah, we learned our lesson through osmosis and observation. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah, they're like, yeah, we don't want to die.
But
And
so
yeah.
for you, like you said, it depends on the players, especially I'm sure as a DM you've come across the situation where you've unfortunately had to say, dude, this just isn't working. You can't come back. I hope you haven't had to do that yet.
Yes, I've had one
Oh.
player. I have one player that left because he got into a dispute with the party.
You had a situation where not just one player, but a group of players, the majority said, no, and left you kind of no choice.
Yeah, it was just kind of like, look, bro, you have not played nice, and I did bring his character back into the game. The party did actually murder her ass.
Oh.
So that they got some closure.
See, I don't have that luxury. I don't get to pick who gets killed off. You kind of don't either because no. Oh no. No. I can't give you spoilers because my marketing artist has enough and just I will be putting out some character sketches here in the near future for all you listening. There's one character out of the 5 ladies you better not fall in love with. I'm not telling you who, but I will break your heart. I have no say in what's going to happen to her.
Her fate is sealed.
Oh, dude, I have the scene written and have since before I finished book 1.
All right.
It's book 4 or 5. But I don't. If a character, for me, it's kind of a J.K. Rowling situation of when they need to exit, I have no control. It's their time to go. I think is how she worded it about what happened in book 5.
Are you sure that's not H.R.R. Martin?
Might be yeah, that's probably their writing too.
Anyway, so speaking of character death, let's go to our next point, which is how do we handle personality bleed or carryover into meta creation process of gaming versus writing?
This is something you've been wanting to get an answer from me for a while, I imagine.
You can't see it, but I'm rubbing my hands right now with such vigor.
I was wondering what that noise was in the background, you
I'm
weirdo.
starting a fire.
Run!
I am the fire god.
If you're a fire god, we're all in trouble.
No, I'm responsible for my little power I think I have.
Play some more Among Us and you'll feel like you have more, I promise. Anyway.
I'll just go out the airlock more. But anyway, yes. So
hey,
please.
No, apparently I'm free game for that now too. But
after I left.
Yeah.
You're next. Maybe you'll think twice about throwing me out because they're coming for you.
Oh yes. I am backing off on the when in doubt, dude. So much.
I'll teach you. Play with fire.
Karma bit hard. But for personality bleed for me, I'm kind of guilty of doing what painters do, and it's because I used to paint. I write what I know, just how a painter paints what they see. There's some personal drama involved in writing for me as far as As a teacher, I've always taught writing as therapy. It is not meant to be a chore. It is meant to be something for you to get out onto paper so that you can manage the whatever you're going through. And for me, I didn't realize this until actually second pass from my editor, who I keep saying she's a saint. She pointed out there was one specific line was really, really harsh and totally out of character for the character who supposedly said it. And she even went so far as to add a comment of, "Are you okay? What was going on when you wrote this?" And I never even realized A, that I wrote that, nor B, did I remember what triggered it. So for me, unfortunately, I while I am the medium through which the story tells itself, I'm just the writer of what I see or recorder of what I see. Um, a lot of me ended up in here in different parts of who I am. And the more I thought about this, it's like, okay, I can see where Malice would people who really know me would be like, okay, Malice the pirate vampire, she's totally Jenna's way loud, annoying Irish inside girl who just doesn't want to be quiet anymore. And on the other hand, other people might go and look at the catkin Harumi or the healer Maria and say, they're painfully shy. And you know me. I go through those bouts of being awkward and painfully shy to literally it hurts. So there's a little bit of bleed, and I wouldn't say it's a lot of bleed, more like touches of who I am came through the lens with, and I don't think I can erase that. But you have a situation where it's not just you. You're not the only brain meta-ing.
Right. So this might be more of a me question because I think, yeah, you always have to put some sort of investment into a novel that you write. Like, no matter what you do, I don't think you can surgically remove your investment from it.
It's hard.
I mean, I don't even know if it's possible, honestly. But yeah, what I was referring to bleed with this completely impromptu question was like, say I'm creating a character,
Mhm.
right? And I make it like my ideal. I put all my ideals, all my beliefs into this character, and I love playing this character. So much fun. And then all of a sudden, I roll 3 nat ones in a row. My character is super
Mm.
dead, and I'm sitting there crying up a storm, ruining my mascara, tearing up my character sheet. I'm like, this fucking sucks. I hate this game. And yeah, that did happen. My first character, literally, it was just my
Oh.
middle name. It was just my middle name and my mother's maiden name, Barry Croft, first character ever. I was bleeding so hard. I got zotted from my game master
Oh
because
no.
he didn't like something I said. Like sat a tree ant on me, ripped me to shreds. I was like level 3, and I'm
Oh
like this, and I was like, this fucking sucks. I hate this game, you know. And then like my next character I was really attached to, of course, Rick Narn. I think had a little bit of bleed because he was just kind of this fun uh like crusader I made where he's like, aha, like all in your
right,
face, like
right.
I'm the knight in shining armor everyone wants me to be. Um he had a curse on him where he couldn't touch women, and it was the first time in my life I had an entire party filled with
Oh
women.
no. I was gonna say, please don't let him have an unintentional harem.
Yeah, no, yep. And there was like one other male who was the barbarian, and I had full plate, so I needed help. So we had like the most epic bromance between him, like getting me in and out of my armor every day. And that character, I remember to this day, that character died 3 times throughout the course of the campaign, which was Second Darkness, by the way.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I was distraught. I'm like, this fucking guy. I'm like, it never gets any easier.
No, it doesn't. It
But
doesn't.
every other character I've had after that, it's like, yeah, he dies, whatever. I had fun.
See, I feel that way about a certain character who ends up being the bad guy in the end. I can't say what I was originally going to say
Lol.
because that would spoil the end of book 5. Yes,
Fair.
just so the audience knows, Crazy Little Miss Up Here has 8 books in total for the main plot.
Hmm.
um, book 2 has already been started, but
Nice.
I'm seeing more of that persona bleed and whether or not I care
Yeah.
about certain characters more and more. The lead baddie, as my editor says, you end up hating for all the right reasons.
Yep.
But at the same time, you really don't care whether or not he survives. It's like if he does, so be it. If not, as well. And I've always felt this way about that character, apparently. So that's a good point.
Like if he dies, he dies.
Right. And um how for you, how do I phrase this?
Uh,
When that does it become more than persona bleed for you when making NPCs? I'll word it that way. The next not so pre-planned question we had here. How do you interject other people into your world? Apparently, at least for me, the main male protagonist, Christian, his mother, is based on, well, somebody in my life and didn't even realize it. Um, do you have NPCs where, you're in the middle of a game or rereading and prepping for a game or whatever, and you look at them and you're like, oh wow, I basically just made John Z. Or oh, I basically just made Will and didn't intend to.
Actually, I did recently have a Blink Dog sorcerer that went after my female noble drow lead for all the champions of good she killed, and
Ah.
he basically was trying to arrest her. The party was having none of that,
Mm-mm.
and so he summons a bunch of Blink Dogs to run him over, and they were doing like absolutely no damage to these guys. Uh, so they killed the Blink Dog, and I had like a little BS kind of story where he got resurrected,
Mm-hmm.
reincarnated by all of the champions he fought for because the goddesses are dicks. And
Well,
actually
yeah.
reincarnated him as a hound archon.
Oh
And
no.
he came back with like white fur and white robes, and Yolanda immediately told me, he's like, dude, you basically made Gandalf the White. And I'm like,
I
holy
was
shit, I
waiting for
did.
that.
Yeah, I was like, oh shit, you're right.
You made the next life level up from my car, yo. Which remind me to tell you the story of how my car got an upgrade in name for like 3 months when we're done with this.
Fair. But as for interjecting other NPCs, again, it's the same process how I create. I think I mentioned it before. I come up with a reason why they're there, and generate a story real quick, and then just plop them down.
And you're not so much throwing in a dozen monkey wrenches so much as you're picking specific monkey wrenches to feed from those dozen if need be.
Well, as a game master, your role is to create a scenario where the PCs want to do something, and you're like, is someone going to stop them? Is someone going to help them? What other encounters are going to be in the way? What other shenanigans are going on while they're doing this? Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
not. I don't try to create like, okay, point A, point B, point C, whatever. I'm like, they're in a world that exists. Other things are going on that don't happen to deal with them. They're either going to hear about it or it's going to blow up in their face. Um, like for example,
Like for
again,
example.
like my game where they're in this castle. Basically, all the traps are designed after board games.
Right.
Um, they're looking in the king of this castle's garage, basically, for a telescope. And meanwhile, before they got there, they killed an inevitable. And all the other inevitables got really mad,
Yep.
and one of them tattled on him, and they stormed the castle. And while the castle was being stormed because of what they did, the adventure there was a group of adventurers that were basically drilling through the vault to get to the king to destroy the entire thing, and
Right.
that was going on at the same time.
Oh no.
And that happened because they kind of said some crap to Pack Lord Zabin. Again, that was the Blink dog that was reborn as a Hound Archon, and
Right.
he actually quested a bunch of heroes to go in there and stop them from doing the nefarious things.
So, when things get chaotic like that, do you as a GM actually track your spells or abilities that are used? Or
I
do
mean,
you require your players to do that and you check in as needed of suspicion they're not doing well?
well, it's more of an me personally. It's an honor system, and I probably need to rein on one player because I don't think he keeps track of his spells because he's like a level 7 cleric now. For the past 5 games, I swear to God, all he does is cast a heal spell here and there, and he casts Bless. And I'm like, bro, did you prepare 3 Bless spells today? Do you realize you're level 7? You have other spells you can cast?
That are probably a little bit more effective at this
Yeah,
point.
and then it's just all attack rolls. I'm like, what? He's even asking other spellcasters like if he can use the dispel magic. It's like it's on your list, bro. Why didn't you prepare it as a cleric?
Sure.
Like, what
Agreed.
are you preparing? Bless on your 3 level slots that you don't have time for dispel magic? What the hell? Like, but yeah, I try to keep track of my spells, especially when I send a whole party against the group. But it's a lot to keep track of. Sometimes I miss stuff. It's whatever.
About how many people do you have playing though? That's also probably part of it.
That is. Right now I run 6 at max.
Yeah, that's a lot for you to track.
It is a lot. I mean, that's kind of why I'm like, you guys keep track of your own shit.
Yeah.
But honestly, they don't always show up. I have 2 that are unreliable, so it's usually 4, sometimes 5, which is fine.
Right.
And then I'm like, you guys better come here because this is a boss, and it's basically calculated like you're all supposed to be here, but it doesn't matter. They're all pretty smart players, and they pretty much stomp everything, so it really doesn't matter.
See, you're a much more kind game master than who I originally started under. I mean, though I did,
I
break
am
up with that guy for
generous.
a reason, but
I am generous. I am lenient, but if you
oh
come at
yeah.
me with stupid bullshit and you intend to do stupid bullshit, I am not afraid to beat their piss out of you for being stupid.
Hey, you got to do your opportunities as much as the gamers do as far as what you can and cannot make a point with when needed.
Exactly. It's like if you're just gonna sit there and be dumb, like
Mhm.
I'll let the dice rolls do the talking,
Well,
It's like,
yeah. And for you guys it becomes far more repetitive, far faster than it would for me in a story. My editor will laugh at me saying that. Because you have the opportunity where you probably stop them and say, "Wait a minute." Again, like, you prepared 3 bless spells, what? And you're a
well,
what?
there's a couple of phrases you learn as a game master that will give most players pause. One of them is, "Are you sure?"
Yeah,
That's
those words have power, as
that
Neftiri would
and
say.
it's to the point where I use that as a game master to basically that's your warning, like you're
Mhm.
about to do something dumb. Or another one that will really make paranoid players more paranoid is describe how you do that.
Yep.
It's like,
Yep.
describe your search or describe your investigation, or my favorite one, do you touch it?
Are
And
you
people will be
brave enough
like,
to actually
they're like,
touch
hold
it?
on, wait a second, hold on. They backpedal so hard with just those 3 phrases alone. I've even done that in a LARP where I had an unlatched treasure chest, and I said to the guy, I was like, I'm gonna open the chest. So I'm like, all right, it's right there. Oh, do you have lock picking or trap sense? He's like, no. Okay, have fun. And I swear to God, he spent 5 minutes putting up all this magic wards and shit just to tip open an unlatched, untrapped box. And I watched him do it, and I was laughing the whole time.
Okay. That definitely is not something I've run into yet.
Yeah,
On
it's kind of
my
hard to do
end.
that when you're writing your own novel.
Well, for me, and I told my editor this when I sent her the book for the first edit. I'm at a point where stuff is starting to bleed together. I've reread it so many times, you think I would know it, but I'm actually starting to get falling action and rising action points flipped on both sides of the climax. It's like, wait a minute, no, Neftiri's not supposed to be oh, that scene doesn't come later. And part of it is because I switched a couple scenes around
Yep.
before I, sent it off for the first edit and
It's
not
like,
used to it yet.
editing.
But for me, it became a concern of falling into repeat. Um, Especially as the writer, I'm kind of like the first reader of this world. So I really don't know what all these characters are going to do. And I've been hitting you up for spell help lately.
Yep.
And that's just exactly why. It's my fear of getting things into repeat. Book 2 has I've already written 10,000 words plus to book 2. Yeah, book 1's not out yet. Haha.
Coming soon.
Yeah, not soon enough. February comes around fast, dude. Oh, wow. But my greatest fear is getting into repetitiveness because I do pull a lot of different things from the gaming world. I mean, I literally have bards. I don't call them that. Different terminology,
Yeah.
obviously. They're song weavers, but the astral realm is actually another realm in this story that they can tap into for magic. And the more I got into writing book 2 and the more I'm learning how much it is and is not like what I've gained, that fear of that repeats coming back. Again, harsh. And I gotta say, thank you for your help, dude.
Anytime. All right.
Definitely.
I guess that brings us to the next question. I think that's more of a me thing, honestly. Now that I read it,
Yeah, and we're
it's
kind of
about
getting
like
to the last one too here, it looks
yeah,
like, for the day.
maybe. So balancing. So how do you balance encounters towards the needs of the party and characters, or does powering through a dungeon or scene matter more? Oof. I don't
So
even know if power really matters to your novel. You could do whatever you want, right?
again, if I interject myself too much, they do stop talking.
I mean, I don't know. I'm reminded of the One Piece community where all they care about is like power level. Yeah, you know what I'm going. This
I
power
couldn't
level
finish
equals the
watching
reward.
that series for a reason, yo.
Oh no, the community is so toxic. Where it's like, oh well, like if their bounty is higher, they're more powerful, right? It's like, no.
No.
Like there's a lot of reasons why they have a high bounty. Like there's like Nico Robin as a kid had like a
Yes.
high bounty as a child because a lot of people wanted her dead because of what she knew.
Yes.
She couldn't like take down like all these like warlord level
Exactly.
like people, which apparently is like only one person the whole warlord tier or whatever. But anyway,
Right.
but I think definitely power balance does matter
Oh,
a
yes.
lot when it comes to gaming. Like basically if an encounter is too easy, then yes, it becomes routine, it becomes boring, and it's not fun.
No.
However, if a battle is too and if an encounter is too difficult, then you get players that are stuck with a puzzle they can't solve. You get
Mhm.
total party kills, also known as TPKs. um some systems will give you lasting injuries that are hard to get off.
Right.
Like it is a balance you have to strike with, and I think few games have it where you don't have to worry about power. But I've been escalating because I feel that the party hasn't suffered any losses really.
Right.
They've just been winning, winning, winning. So I've been taking the power escalation and I've just been rounding up. So yeah.
Oh, gotcha. So
So
just that extra little oomph.
yeah, so right now I think because they've been basically with 2 books without any real hardships, I think I've only knocked 2 people down throughout the whole game.
That's
And
impressive.
one was bullshit.
Okay.
One was absolute bullshit because I basically gave a leprechaun, a female leprechaun, I gave her heroic action because they just downed her sister.
Right.
And she went after the wizard that got her sister, and she literally beat her within an inch of her life with a shillelagh.
Okay, I would love to see a picture of that. Anyway.
It's like I have her picture still in my archive.
Just wow.
I can show you later. But yes,
Okay.
and of course my naming convention, like her it wasn't a real name, but her nickname was Bashley. And her whole sisterhood was like that. Like
the Sisterhood of Bashley, huh?
There was Bashley, she was a fighter, obviously.
Obviously.
There was Nashley, who was a fawn druid. And then there was First World Gnome, an actual First World unreincarnated gnome rogue. Her name was Slashley.
I can only imagine what her favorite weapon were involved.
Daggers, knives.
I was going to say daggers, knives.
Daggers, knives, and she had a bow with slashing arrows. Like, yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I would not want to be around her. Not at all.
It's loads of fun. What are you talking about? She's great at parties.
I was going to say, what's her favorite party trick?
Killing it!
Okay, see, this is why it was perfect to get you to make Toos, because perfect. That's the kind of humorous lineage I keep stealing from you guys. Yeah, Saint Editor, if you're listening to this, blame these guys for all the good lines.
What up? It's like game recognizes game.
Yeah, harsh, dude. So for me, with this question, I had a long note there that is now fixed, and yeah, gave you a little pop of future POV of what's happening to your character.
Oh no, not Toos.
He's okay. I would never kill off Toos. He's
adorable. Not okay. Toos is not okay. He's literally teenage angst, the character.
It's only a mask. He's totally a sweetheart in front of Tiri and Rochelle.
I mean, that's where you're taking a shirt. All right.
Hey, as he will eventually explain to Bjorn, the only reason why I'm nice to them is because it really benefits me to be nice to them. Nice. I don't like getting my behind fried.
That's fair.
So,
and you have his con score.
Yes, I was looking at that when I wrote that conversation.
I was like, whoa.
Yeah. But for me, there's something that's going to happen with the bards, and you winged ones kind of went, why do you have a quartet? Well, balancing an encounter was required. So you and I might be writing a spell later that may or may not exist, dude, is kind of what I'm forewarning you.
If you have 4 of them, I hope you're going to start dealing with like chorus magic and really start screwing everything up.
No. Not at all. I didn't spend 12 years of my life singing Soprano 1 for that to wear off. No.
It's like, no, you don't understand. I want to see chorus magic in fantasy. God damn it. Because no one ever uses it.
Exactly. No one uses this, especially when we're talking paranormal fantasy.
I know! What's up with that?
Yeah, untapped resource, yo. So, I think that's going to bring us to a strong end today, though, bro. So, thanks everybody so much for joining us. If you want to see more of this idiot, go over to Emerald Company Gaming. I blow them up enough on my Facebook page for you to know who they are. I'll probably link them down below for y'all too. Have a good day. Good night.